Good evening, Harish sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
How are you, sir?
Oh, very well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and thank you for joining me, for giving your blessings.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Monica, 1 minute to go.
Sanjay sir is here. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
everyone.
Good evening, Sanjay sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, ma'am?
Very well. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear. Thank you for
Good evening,
joining.
संजय जी
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार.
कैसे हैं?
गुड इवनिंग. बिल्कुल ठीक है. आप बताइए सर.
नमस्कार संजय सर.
Good
नमस्कार.
evening, Professor Chaudhary.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good
Nice
evening.
to see you.
नमस्कार
कैसे
सर.
हैं?
My pleasure.
Monica, start with Kriti. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Talk Show Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the talk show organized by Samurja Educational Society. We are organizing this talk show on the theme Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies. In the past 30 years, Samurja Educational Society has conducted enormous programs for supporting the schools, school leaders, teachers, students, besides underprivileged section of the society through its projects like Girl Next Door and the Charity Wall. During this pandemic, the society has organized online sessions which were subject specific by experts for students, besides sessions on social and emotional well-being, bridging gaps, technology, art integration, and leadership for the teachers. Different educational deliberations were organized in the form of symposium, conferences, like Programming to Unlock and Decoding Shiksha yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The future of a country is made in its classroom. Abraham Lincoln once rightly said, "The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next generation." Running on the expressway of our growth and development, we have been merrily discussing Industry 4.0 for smart manufacturing operations with smart digital technology, machine learning, and big data to create more holistic and better connected ecosystem. Since 2015, we are discussing and trying to reach SDGs recommended by United Nations. Present global crises have compelled us to reflect on the education transacted across the globe. Where we have gone wrong? What did we miss? What slipped from our strategic planning? What kind of professional development programs we had? 17.6 crore people affected by COVID. plus minus 4 lakhs. 38 lakh people died, plus minus 11,000. And this is the data just 10 hours back. Be it a war, bio-war, or a laboratory accident, or a strategically planned incident, that's not desired by anyone in this world. Samurja believes that there is an urgent need to deliberate on education 4.0 besides industry 4.0. Next couple of weeks, we will be discussing various topics under the theme Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies. Today's topic is Skillology, Teacher and Taught. To deliberate on this topic, our resource speaker, who is the veteran in the school education, Dr. Ashok Pandey. Let's welcome Dr. Ashok Pandey, Director, Elcon Group of Schools. No combination of 26 letters can describe Dr. Pandey's persona. And above all, he is well-known personality, not only in India, but across the globe. I request all of you to please read whatever is written on the slide, and I'll share about Dr. Pandey. The visual and audio will not be in sync. Dr. Pandey is a progressive educator who believes in inspiring and motivating anybody and everybody on this planet for the tiniest project or practice to a big idea of training and research at NASA. Dr. Pandey's name was listed among top 100 effective leaders, managers by magazine Forbes 2020. I'll not discuss his Lifetime Achievement Award or the National Award. Sir regularly writes articles in educational magazines. Also, he has authored the book, The Pedagogical Life, Inspiring Educational Leadership, which answered 100 questions from the school system on educational leadership, and a design framework for future generation, which he wrote in the year 2018. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Muktaji. Thanks a lot.
We also have with us our mentor and special guest, Dr. Rajesh Hasija, Director, Indraprastha Group of School, Dr. Harish Chaudhary from IIT Delhi, Mr. Sanjay Bhartiya, Vice President, Action Committee of Unaided Private Schools, who is also a principal of Nav Bharti School. We welcome Dr. Hasija, Dr. Chaudhary, and Sanjay Bhartiya, sir. Other guests on the show are Mrs. Seema Jain from Bal Bharti Public School, Rohini, and Mrs. Seema Bajaj from Rimal Public School. They are representing the teachers community, and they will be discussing, they'll be asking the questions, or they'll be deliberating on behalf of the teachers. As a parent, we are having Mrs. Nisha Bhasin, who is also a teacher with Shanti Gyan Niketan and a parent of Bal Bharti School. The youngest guest we have with us is Muskan Mahajan from Shri Venkateshwara International School, Dwarka. We welcome all our guests. Welcome to you to this inaugural session of talk show. Without further delay, I'll request Dr. Pandey to please initiate the topic, as we have shared that something we are missing, something we are lacking, something more was required in our education system. So the skills which the teachers and the students required in future, there needs to be a different study. Since we have already written a book on it, I'll request Dr. Pandey to please answer it.
Thank you, Muktaji. First of all, permit me to reciprocate the kindness that you have extended to me, the rockstar welcome on your Zoom platform, the galaxy of experts that you have in attendance. That makes me further humble and a little more nervous than what I should have normally been. I'm delighted there are teachers, representatives, students, and I see a lot of people in your show. I am very, very appreciative of the work that you have done in the pandemic and even before that also. I really admire the way you conduct the whole thing, and it is a great pleasure for me to be here on your show. The very first show, as you said, that makes me even more responsible because, as you said, the future of classrooms will depend what is happening in the classrooms today. So I'm very afraid. What happens today in your show, should not impact what happens in future. So God bless you. Thank you very much. I think let me begin with some kind of positivity. I would not say everything has gone wrong. I would not say everything has gone hunky-dory. I think things have moved at some pace where they should have, and things have not moved at all where also they should have. So we have to take some kind of a balance between the two. So what has not happened, I will take. Let us first talk of, only the Indian context. I'll not globalize it right in the beginning of the show. In the beginning, let's talk about the Indian context. You see, I think ideally what should have happened is that every child in this country should have got an opportunity to succeed. And succeed not by the definitions of the child or the child's parents, at least an agreed definition of the society, agreed definition of our democratic values, agreed definition of the governments, successive governments in the last 70 years. So that has not happened. So certainly something has gone wrong. This is number one. Number two, statistically speaking, of course, we have been able to universalize primary education, but there is a dropout rate almost to 50% by the time they go to college. And in fact, in the higher education, we only have 25, 26%. It means there is a huge gap. So on one hand, we are universalizing it at primary level. On the other hand, we have no control over the dropouts. Okay, so that is the second thing. The third thing, of course, is we have a very glorious and very rich heritage of India's education system. India's achievements in every walks of life, including science and technology. And somehow we find today that we may be having a large pool of science, technology, and mathematics and things like that. But on many other parameters, we are not, in the committee of nations, let us say in the first 10, 15 places. So that is another mess. And now that you talk of globalization, let me bring it here. Now a very standard benchmark has come across the world where all countries can put their own data. It is nobody else is doing it. The countries themselves, it is a big lesson for our education system that the countries are being evaluated on the basis of their self-evaluation. And our students, we don't allow them to self-evaluate themselves. So let me give you this example. It is very interesting. The statistics, or you can say the report card of SDG, Sustainable Developmental Goals, which you referred to in the beginning, that result has come, and India has got 62% the scorecard, right? And it is far behind. It is at place 118. So I don't think that is a very good thing. Of course, some of the states are doing very well. Some of the states are not doing well. But India is a large country, and there is a marginal improvement over the previous year. So I think that is where we have to work very hard. So I've just given you a kind of a capsule where things might have gone wrong. But at the same time, let us not forget that we have been able to manage ourselves very well. We have been able to prove that we have the potential. Our democratic values are very strong. Even in science and technology, and during the pandemic, you saw we are in the first 5 countries to produce a new vaccine. So and the list is long, but I'm just pitching both of them side by side so that the viewers of your show have a balanced view, and we just don't start lamenting and cursing ourselves that, oh my God, we have missed the bus forever. That is not the case. Muktaji, over to you.
Sir, there is a question
Yeah.
from the participants at the time of registration.
Yeah.
Is this online teaching going to have after 10 years? That question I could not understand, so I thought perhaps. So at the moment, once we start the physical schools, definitely the parents, they have the taste of it. Like we are having the PTMs, etc. We are having the assessment. So the parents and teachers, they will have, saying it an excuse is a wrong term, but an option that they can take it online. Right, the parent will say that you can have a meeting with me since I am busy. So this question, it has come from school from Nepal.
So, all right. So let me, break down this question into 2 or 3 things. First, the person who has asked this question has said that what will happen after 10 years. So probably I am assuming that the assumption in the mind of the questioner is that in 10 years time, the complete fear of the pandemic will have gone, okay? And we will have assumed life very close to what it was pre-pandemic. And in that situation, what will happen to all this transition to online and things like that? Probably that is where this question is coming. This is my assumption. And probably with this assumption, I can try and answer this question. So the question number 1, I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I stand to any correction on the basis of new data, new information. But as on today, I don't think we are going to a situation which was pre-pandemic. Certainly not 100%. So this is number 1. Number 2, as the situation improves, there are 2 parallel tracks to the whole thing. Number 1, a vast majority of the populace is not yet digitalized, right? So when you talk of online or some kind of mix or hybrid, I think they are totally out of this gamut, right? And therefore they have no option but to come to the in-person kind of thing, right? So this is number 1. I hope the digitalization will improve and digital inequality will reduce. In fact, I have gone on record to say that the access to education in future will be equivalent to access to technology, access to internet, access to devices, right? So I stand by that statement. The third thing which is very, very important is, you see, we have to say 2 or 3 parameters on which we will decide whether we have to have in-person or we have to have virtual or online. Certain courses will always require in-person interaction. So some of the vocational courses, the fine arts and things like that. Some students will always benefit from in-person interventions, okay? Because of their physicalities and physical conditions and things like that. So there will always be a need for in-person training. And there will always be a need for digital access by a majority of the children. And therefore, what is going to happen, I'll tell you, a scenario. And that scenario, it is not 100% in person. It is not 100% online. So what is going to happen is a mix of the 2. Now, the mix of the 2 has got 2 or 3 options. And I'll tell you what those options are. The best option that is going to come out of the 2 is not hybrid, which most of us say. I disagree with that. I say the best option is blended. And what is blended is closer to in-person and farther from online, right? Which means we will have in-person things, but a lot of things will happen asynchronously online, okay? So there will be a kind of a flipping of the 2. So you give the course material, you give the videos, you give the quiz, you give a project work, and so on and so forth. But yes, you're meeting most of the time physically, right? So this is one thing. Now, wherever this equation will be disturbed, we will come out with what we call two kinds of flexibilities. And what are those two flexibilities? One is hybrid flexibility. So what is hybrid flexibility? So a combination of in-person and online, but then we will decide, maybe the children will come to school for a few days and few days they stay at home. But mind you, some children who do not have access to technology at home, they will come to school, right? But children are always in contact with the teachers, either in person or online. So that is one thing, okay? And the next kind of flexibility is probably the ultimate flexibility, I call it. And that ultimate flexibility is that we decide once for all that, look, we are going to do just for 4 days in the school and 2 days will be at home, okay? But those 2 days will be with the teachers. So in small groups, in big groups, all the children doing the same thing, all the children doing the different things, and that will become a replica of personalized learning, which is the new mantra in the education scenario. So that will be the flexibilities. And therefore, to sum up this long answer to that very short question is, it is age of flexibility. And it is, when we say flexibility, Muktaji, you know what we really mean by this? We mean by this is giving more options. And when we give more options, then we do two things. First, we include more and more people in the success pipeline, right? And third is we give, when we do this flexibility through opportunity and things like that, then we are also encouraged to do innovations, right? So teachers will become innovators. So on one hand, they will be driven by their moral purpose of reaching out to every child. And on the other hand, they will become innovators as to how to do it successfully. So I think that is the kind of thing that I can visualize for the next 10, 15 years.
I think, sir, you have already answered to my next questions, which were related to be the urban segment, semi-rural or rural areas. Technology still hasn't reached there. How to cope up with those kinds of problems?
Yes,
and
so I think I have tried to answer this question. And just to add to make a little more clearer, it is not only an urban-rural divide, you know, it is economic divide, right? So even if you are living in an urban locality, but then you 5 members in the family, you don't have 5 devices. Then what do you do, right? You know, even in Delhi, you know, you have got only one smartphone in the family, and now you have to take turns to use the device. The father needs it at the workplace, you know, mother needs it for something else, children need it for something else, then there are siblings. So I think it is economic divide, and of course it is the access problem also. So both of them will play out, and that is why this flexibility thing I'm talking about, and also at the same time spreading the network will also be required, and this digital inequality has to go once for all.
Thank you, sir. The first question which I asked, it was from Koirala School, Nepal. And the second question was from Adharshila School. I have still some questions with me. But before that, I would like to invite our special guests, the teachers, parents, and the students. So first of all, I'll call Mrs. Seema Jain, who is representing the teachers community from Balbharti Public School, Rohini. Seema ma'am, over to you. You can ask your question to sir.
Very good afternoon, sir. It's great interacting with you on this lovely platform. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
We'll appreciate
sir,
yeah,
I wanted to, yeah, sorry.
We'll appreciate if you switch on the video as well.
But I have, I don't know. Is it, yeah. So, sir, yeah, I think it's better now. I wanted to ask, do you think parents can have an active role in this new scenario, or should they have just a passive role and provide only a conducive environment?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your question. The parents, it's not a question of can. Parents should have an active role. So
Okay.
this is number one. Number two, let me be very frank here. We have somehow not fully harnessed the potential of the parents. And therefore,
Yes,
I advocate a full parental involvement. And therefore, the phrase that I suggest is parental engagement, right?
Okay.
And parental engagement as, I will give you an acronym, which is Sanjay Bhartiya, my good friend, will appreciate it. It is called PIL, So it is not that PIL in the court against the private schools. I'm talking about parents, partners in learning, PIL. Parents as partners in learning, right? This is the PIL I mean. And then the second acronym is that we have to have a quest for parental engagement, okay?
Okay.
So this quest for PIL, so what does it mean? Quest Q, right? We have to allow parents to ask questions, right? So if we do not allow them to ask questions on the campus, they will go and ask questions on the street or in the courts. So let us be very frank about it and very clear about it. So can we allow them to ask questions? After all, they have skin in the game, they have trusted us with their children. So why we should not allow them to ask questions, and we become very uncomfortable at one stage. So that is one thing, we have to develop some kind of understanding with them that, look, both of us, we may appear to be on the two sides of the table, which should not be the case. But even metaphorically, if we are on the two sides, who is in the center of two of us? In the center of table is the child, right? And therefore, our interests must merge in the interests of the child. Okay? And then let us find out how we engage them. So we can engage with a whole lot of people outside our parent community. Why can't we engage with them, right? So it is not only that on some special occasions, I think we should celebrate their achievements and accomplishments. We should celebrate their expertise. We should request them to bring the expertise through their own networks. They're very network people, resourceful people. So that is what we call engagement. And then we have to structure it. Most of the parents just don't know how to reach the school. And therefore they reach the school through some influence, and some phone calls from somewhere. I think all of us can structure it that, look, if you have this kind of problem, you approach the class teacher, escalate it if your problems are not solved to the headmistress or coordinator, come to the principal, but you can come to the principal direct also. I mean, there should not be any restriction. I'm only saying for the ease of doing that engagement, we can do something like that. Okay, so that is called structuring. And of course, the last T is that we have to team up with them. And if we allow any fault lines between the two of us, then it will only fester and it will only create tension. If we do not team up, then we are inviting tension. And that is why, ma'am, thank you very much for asking this question. I'm absolutely very, very sure that we have to involve parents as partners in learning and partners in the school culture. And that's the only way forward.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Seema Jain, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Seema Bajaj, ma'am, to ask the question, please. Seema Bajaj, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm humbled that I've been given an opportunity to ask this question from such a personality, an elite personality. So my question, rather, I want to know more about it, that nowadays we are using technology for more than 10 hours a day, and our children are approximately 3 hours a day for the social media. And in this excessive access to this technology, sir, sometimes we feel that there is the soft skill deficit is there. And especially as a teacher, I feel that the soft skill like the empathy, there is a deficit of that. And I feel that sometimes that if you think about the perspective from the children or from our side also, we are hardly getting any time to hone this skill at this time when the children are totally in the hands of the technology, and they are using the technology because that's an hour of that. So my question is that how now at this time we can inculcate these soft skills among our children.
Thank you, Simaji. I fully appreciate your concern and thank you for your kind words. Let me tell you 2 or 3 things with a little bit of apology in the beginning if I inadvertently hurt some people. So first of all, let me remind you of the very latest viral video of a very small girl of 6 years from Jammu and Kashmir. In her video, she has appealed to the Prime Minister, Assalamu alaikum, Modi Saab, aapko is baat pe to zarur gaur farmana padega. You remember? And you know how profound she was. And what was her complaint? Look, imagine 6 years old child knows that how much online work a 6 year should do and how much online work a 12 year should do, because she has advised it in her video. कि आपको जो कुछ करना है मोदी साहब, आप ये बड़े बच्चों से करवाएं, हमें क्यों तकलीफ देते हैं? This is what she says. Now, if she can understand it, why can't we understand it, right? So I think there is some kind of obsession or some kind of anxiety in us that we want children to do everything at the earliest, you know. So we are in a hurry and we want children to be in a hurry. So that is the preface of what I'm going to say. So let us split your question into 3 age groups. So let us say up to 5 years or 7 years. I think it has to be the least screen time and it has to be the most of interactive time. So when you are having most of interactive time, that is the time you tell stories, you listen to their story, you see, you listen to their observations, you listen to their sentiments, you listen what they have to say about their experience of the past 1 year or so. And they don't have to do everything on the screen all the time. And as you grow up, of course, you will have to do assignments, you have to do reading, you have to prepare for entrance examinations. So you have to spend screen time. So screen time can be split and it can be decided how much screen time. And then, of course, between 2 periods, you can give a gap of 10 minutes, 20 minutes, because the question is how much time your eyes are staring at the screen without blinking, you know. So in medical terms, the screen time reduces to that. So let me not go into the details of the medical part of it. Let us only confine to time, because that was your question. So that can be regularized and that can be monitored and that can be rationalized, in my opinion. But the second part, Simaji, of your question is very important. And I would like to devote some time to that. Let me tell you, the title of this show, Muktaji has kept as Skillology, okay? And I think we should talk something about the skills. I think it is amply clear. If it is not clear, I think we should not waste more than 24 hours to understand it. That the success in life and the not only life, even at the workplace, is not going to be determined only by our cognitive skills, okay? And certainly not by lower cognitive skills of recall and identification and just finding out, recognizing which answer of the 4 is correct. Those are all we call lower order cognitive. Higher order cognitive skills. So your creativity, your ability to analyze, your ability to make meaning out of the information that you are overloaded with. So those higher cognitive skills. And the second thing, which is very, very important, is the socio-emotional skills. You know, how you relate with others, how you talked about empathy, compassion, teamwork, you know, valuing each other. celebrating things together, not taking the credit which is not due to you. I think these are the things which are going to be the success determinants at the workplace. And therefore, in our curriculum, in our interactions, through off the class activities, giving responsibility to the students to take a small problem, make a small group, solve that problem. So, investing in a student agency, as we call it, and trusting in their abilities, I think that we have to include right from the beginning. And as early as we can do it, it will be fine. And just to give you as a some kind of a takeaway from what I'm saying, let us identify 4 things, 4 skills, which are very important. So let us say number 1, socio-emotional skill. That is number 1. Number 2, higher cognitive skills. Okay, you can make the acronym SCS or whatever it is. 3rd is digital skills. And the 4th is student leadership skills. So these are the 4 skills. And let us within our own units of institutions and sit down that up to class 5, which skills should get priority and they should be on top. Then in middle, we should move a little bit shuffling of those 4. And by the time we go to class 12, and when our only motive is to prepare the children for college, career, and lifelong learning, then what should be more important? So this kind of reshuffling of these 4 skills, I think this should become integral to our teaching learning process. There is no other way, in my opinion.
Thank you. I think it was very crisp and real insightful. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Mrs. Bajaj. I will invite Muskan Mahajan, the student, so that the parent, they can listen to the teachers and the student flight and they can ask the question a little later. Muskan?
Yes,
Muskan Mahajan is from Shri Venkateshwara International School, Dwarka. Muskan, you can ask your question, please.
Ma'am, I think she's not here.
Okay. In that
she was
case,
here. She might have logged out. She will come back. No problem.
all right.
We'll
So
take
by
her
the time we can invite parent, Mrs. Neetu Bhasin. Mrs. Neetu Bhasin is there? Yes, ma'am. Good evening, all. It's my pleasure to have a talk show with such a person. Sir, I just want to, as a parent, I'm a teacher also in Shanti Niketan School, Dwarka. But as a parent, I just want to know one thing, that face-to-face communication is very less nowadays because students are not ready to switch on their cameras, and they even don't speak or answer the question to the teachers what they ask. So does this affect the students? They will have lack of communication or something like that.
Yeah.
Communication skills.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bhasin, thank you very much. Since you are both a parent and a teacher, I'm sure your responsibilities are more. And many children tell their teacher, mothers or parents that please, you keep your teachership in the school, and in the house you become just a mother, right? So this is what most of the mother teachers tell me. And Seemaji's earlier question about parental role, I think a mother teacher can appreciate the parental role quite a lot. But let me come to that PIL thing which I said. Now imagine I'm just giving a statistics in a class of 40. If 20 children at a time are not switching on the videos purely for fun or diffidence or whatever it is, not for any socio-emotional region, or there could be anything also. I'm not saying that all of them should come on camera, even if there is difficulty in the house. So I'm just taking a constant that there is no apparent reason, but it is only the whims and fancy of the child that the child is not switching on the video. I'm assuming. Now imagine if a school has that PIL relationship with the parents, and you talk to them that, look, this is what is happening. What can you do? I'm sure next day or in 2 days' time, out of those 20, 10 children will switch off their videos. Okay. So this is just one example I'm giving of that PIL. So this is number one. Number two, the onus lies a bit on the teachers also, that what you're doing in the classroom, so how engaging your classroom is, how active learning is taking place in the classroom. So that will also decide. And the third thing is, there is something called something bypassing, what we call it, just bypass it. So if a child is not switching on the video, can you organize any other activity in the chat box or question answer session or on the whiteboard or a breakout session? The technology offers many other options. And can those children be engaged in something else? But when I'm talking, let them keep their videos off. But are they engaged otherwise? So that is also one thing that can be explored.
That
So
is the main problem, sir. On
yes,
the regular basis, they don't switch on their cameras.
that's what I'm saying.
And, when we are engaging them in some activities or some quiz or something like that, they switch on. And
absolutely.
they even give answers to us
Yes.
on chat box also. They
Yes.
are using chat also.
Yeah, so there you are, right? So a combination of these 4 or 5 things will work. But as a teacher, let us not take it as a point of prestige also, right? We have to be, and I will tell you just now, I got a WhatsApp message in the morning, and the message says that howsoever big you are, even in a very adverse situation, you do not lose your temper. Hindi mein tha wo, aapa na khoye. Then only you are a ustad, okay? And and it was not a message, a written message. There is a video with it. And you know what the video says? I wish I could show that video. Muktaji, the video is Ustad Zakir Hussain playing tabla. And you know what is happening? There are 2 mics, protruding towards him. One mic is fixed and the one mic is constantly falling. So when he is playing tabla like this, the other mic is falling. So he is holding the other mic like this. Okay. And it happened for 5 minutes and he was smiling. Okay. And he was managing to play tabla. And then after 5 minutes, the electrician or somebody comes and he fixes that mic. And then the message is, agar aap apna aapa na khoye aisi situations mein, then only you are a ustad, right? So if we are a ustad, we have to know where we have to lose our temper and where we should not. You get my point? So I'm just making this point. But the second part of your question, Mrs. Basin, I would devote some time. You have already answered that question in a way that, well, they were quiet and they were not visible. But when there is a talking time, there is activity time, there is engagement time, and you have allowed that child to express herself or himself, then that communication part is taken care of, right? But if that child, out of video and out of mind, if we start treating them, then probably we are denying the child any other opportunity to participate in the learning process. Then, of course, there will be some problem.
I think switching on their cameras will definitely increase their concentration. That is the main point. While teaching, as a teacher, while teaching, I don't know what the student is doing at their home. Or as a parent, I cannot monitor my child every time when they are having their online classes. So
I'll give you 2 extreme examples, ma'am. Muktaji, I think we have time and we can.
Yes, sir.
So 2 extreme examples, Mrs. Basin. So a child was not switching on the video and the teacher was very particular, like you, perhaps. And then she called the parent that, look, this is happening for quite some time and the child switched it on the video, but he is neither saying yes or no and nothing is happening. And the parents said, no, why? What happened? I'm in the house only. I have given him a room. I have given him a device. I have given him a separate private place. Let me see. And he ran to the next room where the child was given all kind of luxury to attend the class. And he had switched on, he has logged into the classroom and he was playing a video game, right? So this is one extreme. The other extreme also we have to be very, very sensitive of I mean, many children, many families, just one room, and everybody is moving around all the time. If it is class time for him, for some time it is bathing time, for somebody it is breakfast time, for somebody it is something else. So sometimes, the circumstances also do not permit. And I think that is why we play a game with the teachers, and we call it KYC. We borrowed it from the bank, know your customer. And we say, know your child. And for the group leaders, it becomes know your colleague, right? So we have to know, every child's circumstance. And then the intervention has to be in good proportion to those circumstances, whether it is teachers versus a student, or a head versus teacher, or a principal versus heads and teachers and students. I think we have to structure it.
I hope Mrs. Basin, you are satisfied.
Yes, ma'am.
And just small question from you. When your child attends the class, is there some pressure from you, or some rule of the house, or some philosophy of the house that the
Actually, we have same time. I take my classes, and he is also taking his classes as a student, as a teacher.
This is the culture.
In each and every break, I have to visit his room, open the door, and just to see what he is doing, whether he is paying attention to because they are not ready to switch on their cameras. So I have to check each and every moment whether he is paying attention towards the teachers or not, or whether he's playing some game or doing something. So that is the thing I'm concerned as a parent.
Absolutely. Muktaji, I think Muskan has come, so we will take her in. But just before that, let me tell you one little vignette or anecdote from the mythology. In our mythology, there is a phrase used called eyes of the deity. So if you go to the remote villages, and you'll find that those small statues, the structures are there, and somewhere it is Kalima, somewhere this and that, whatever name it is. But what is the most prominent part of that structure? The eyes. Okay. And those eyes are the symbol for the villagers who worship that deity, that these eyes will protect us. They will keep an eye on us. You get my point? So similarly, in the corporate world, we use the phrase eyes of the leader, eyes of the parents. So if our children are within the focus of our vision and eyes, you get my point? Then we will be able to do a better parenting or a better leadership. But if somebody is out of your eyes, probably the problem will crop up. And that is what Mrs. Basin reminded me of this anecdote.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Basin has done the double task as a teacher as well as a parent.
Absolutely.
Muskan is with us.
Yes, Muskan is back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. My apologies, I was
question for sir.
Yes. First off, thank you very much, ma'am, for the opportunity. And sir, it is such an honor to meet you because I have been, thank you very much, sir, because I have been involved in the educational line of social work since the last year. And since then, education, which I'm not going to lie, was not a very huge concern for me. Like social entrepreneurship in that area, it has become now and making a substantial change there. And it's great to see that I'm able to meet someone who is doing that in practice. So my question was actually based on digital divide, but sir, that was really wholly addressed by you in one of the first few questions. So I'll pose another question, and sir, that would be based in the area of upskilling in STEM. And sir, that question is that upskilling has become very important for us students if we want to bag internships, if we want to, for our self-gratification, or if we want to pad our resumes. And sir, basically the steps involved in those upskilling is probably taking some course learning and then getting your hands dirty with the implementation, making your projects, making your portfolio. And as you keep on practicing, you can call yourself the master of that trade. However, sir, I want to ask you, how can Indian schools, because this is not a phenomenon very prominent in Indian schools, how can they incentivize children to explore these fields beyond the school curriculum? because all that they do now, and I feel quite sad to say this, is that these things, they are being patronized only in theory, but in practical we can see that all that most of the schools patronize is school curriculum, nothing beyond that. So how can schools intervene? How can they regulate their own syllabus so that enough importance is given to upskilling outside of school as well?
Very nice. Thank you, Muskan, for bringing this question. And I must tell you, your second question is more difficult to answer than your first question would have been, which you said that I have already answered. But let me tell you how I have been able to tackle it. I will only share my experience with you. And my experience is that I invest a lot in the potential of the children, right? And it is my one of my passions is that, the children can do anything, let me tell you, and they can do everything, okay? And if you trust them, and I mentioned, I think you got logged out for some time, I mentioned one phrase called student leadership skill. And if we invest in student leadership skill, most of these concerns that you have shown can be addressed. So let me tell you how it goes. And for that, I will tell you my own childhood as a student of primary school, middle school, high school, and senior school. I tell you, I was very fortunate to spot on the floor in my classroom when I studied with another 30, 40 children. So I think that was a unique privilege, and that has made me stronger. The second thing is we used to clean the floor. We used to clean the campus. When we grew to our high school, we were able to paint the walls of our school, right? And as students, we used to do half of the work that teachers were supposed to do. So as student leaders, we would take classes, we will give dictation, we will take peer group classes, we will mark the copies, we'll prepare the result, we will take the attendance. I think all these things were done not to give any relief to the teachers. Teachers' eyes were always on us, right? And I remember once I was giving a dictation on muhavara in my classroom, and the muhavara was "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani," right? I hope you will know as a student, but others will definitely know to do justice, right? And there was a lot of noise happening in that class when I was doing this dictation. And my teacher were hearing it, and he said that, look, you guys are not behaving properly. He said in Hindi, I'm just translating it. And I'm very soon coming and I will do doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani with all of you, right? And that was the kind of conversation, that was the kind of trust between the teacher and the child. And what has happened? I think this is what I'm answering to Muktaji, who asked in the beginning, what has gone wrong? Today, if you tell children to do all those things, there will be a DCPCR notice that it is against child's right. You see, you are breaching child's privileges. I think the skills come from dirtying your hands, as you said, right? So there is a, there is a called Reggio approach to childhood education, early education, and in which the founder of that approach says that children have 100 languages, 100 languages, and teachers take 99 out of them, okay? So I think this is what is happening. And then it goes on to say that they allow them to do things with head, but not with hand. You allow them to do things with heart, but not with head, and the beauty and the marvel and love, these things become only occasional, only on festivals, or only on International Teachers' Day or Father's Day or something like that. So I think this is one area which I lament, okay? So this is one thing. Can we bring back this culture of a skill building? This is number one. Can we bring that sense of belonging with the institution? This is the second thing. And the third thing, which I'll quickly answer to your question, which you actually meant, I could understand it, is that every school, has to devise a mechanism where students can be given some on the work experience. If not everybody, at least outgoing students, right? Those who are preparing for life and career. So can some of the children become librarian? Can some of the children manage transport? Can some of the children manage security? Can some children become supervisors and go and see what is happening in the classroom? Can some children develop a good communication regime in the whole institution? Can some children develop a plan as to how parents and teachers come together and the friction, if at all it exists, can be reduced to zero? I think a lot of things can be done internally. Can some children take responsibility of the horticulture, rain harvesting, action against climate change? A lot of things can be done. But then institutions will also have to innovate and find out as to where they can send their children for internships. So say, for example, you're talking today, I'm talking of 6 years ago, now some of our children who are learning German, we send them for internship in the Max Muller Bhavan, right? We send them to some laboratory to spend some days. So a lot of things can be done, okay? So for that, 2 or 3 things are required. First, it is not to be done for certification, number one, because the moment it is to be done for certification, then the corruption will come in this. So I'm very frank about it. It is to be done to fulfill a particular learning objective. And the child should be inherently, intrinsically motivated to learn that skill. Okay? So a lot of NGOs are there. So an NGO which collects blood, can we go and work with them, find out who are the people who are giving blood, what is the qualification, how a blood donation camp can be organized? So I think I can go on, but in short, I can tell you it is possible, it is doable, and in any case, as you said, Muskan, rightly, it must be done.
Thank you very much for that answer, sir. I was not expecting that perspective, because I was expecting mostly that FANG companies, they should be opening internships, but I forgot that leadership can be learned in the nitty-gritty details, like taking a dictation, preparing a curriculum for your youngsters. And yes, sir, that made a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
We gave 50 hours of coaching program to some students, Muktaji, and then in turn, they gave 100 hours of coaching program to the needy students, right? So I think, there is a way, it can be done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I think Muskan is looking more than satisfied. So
Indeed,
the last question from Sanjay sir. Sanjay sir, who is a principal also and the vice president action committee of private unaided schools, sir. Sanjay sir, anything you would like to ask? Although the questions which I had, sir has already answered. Sanjay Bharti.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Mukta ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this wonderful talk show. And it is always a great learning to listen to Dr. Pandey. Pandey sir, half of my question has already been answered by you. The same question was asked by Muskan also. But still, I would like that please put more focus on this question. My question is, in our country, skill-based education is considered as vocational skill that is obtained through short-term training or course, but it is not part of formal education. What measures should be taken to make skill-based education as an integral part of formal education also? So this is my question, and I understand this thing that it has already been answered and replied by you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. It gives me opportunity to give you 2-3 more examples. Let me tell you. You see, what is a skill, by the way? We have not been able to define a skill, right? So I think those days are gone. We are talking about gender equality and all that. So only one community will cook food and the other community will not cook food is no more the case. And that is not healthy for the society as well, right? So can you cook? Now in the schools, we can't have fire and oven and things like that. So cooking without fire is very popular in the schools, right? And let me tell you, both boys and girls take part with equal enthusiasm, right? And then what teachers do, they bring a little bit of innovation. So they say that you have to bring something, but it should have some mathematical shape. So imagine one constraint has been added to it, and children go after all kinds of innovations and they do it. This is one thing. But the second thing which you are hinting at, and probably you're a very nice suave person. I know, Sanjay, probably you don't want to say it publicly. I think we attribute, some kind of indignity or disrespect with certain skills in the society. I think that mindset also has to be. And only schools can be the change of that mindset, okay?
I totally agree.
That nothing in this world is less important or more important, right? I will tell you one anecdote. I can see your anxiety, Muktaji, but 2 minutes you will have to give, because you have brought Sanjayji here and he has asked a very emotional question and I want to answer it. In my school, let me tell you, and I'm sorry I'm giving this personal example, but certainly not with any advertisement motive, non-teaching staff. Now, non-teaching staff, I mean, nobody knows them in the institution. And I consider them very, very important, right? So if the gardener in the school does not look after the garden, the school will look deserted, right? So the cleaner, the electrician, the carpenter, the welder, right? Didis, bhaiyas, bus conductors, right? So let me tell you, Sanjay ji, I'm telling you a story. And the story is about John F. Kennedy, when he was the president of America. And it is very long time back, many of you will not remember, when Apollo landed on moon, okay? So it was preceding 10 years, 1969, when Apollo landed on moon, right? So let us say 59 to 68. And preparation had started 10 years in advance. And John F. Kennedy visited NASA Center to see what is the kind of preparation going on. And then he visited there, and as he walked into the gallery, there was a janitor who was mopping the floor. And then he stood up and he said, "Good morning, Mr. President." And Mr. President read his name, janitor, he was Francis or somebody, and he asked, "Hello, Francis, what are you doing?" And Francis was mopping the floor. And I don't have time, and therefore I'm not dramatizing the whole thing. I'm just giving you a straight away answer. Anybody anywhere in the world would have said mopping the floor. But Francis said, "Mr. President, I'm preparing to send our scientists on the moon." You get the point? So I think how you connect with a larger purpose, okay? So everybody in the school is preparing to get our children graduated with all the skills that we have envisaged for them. So the gardener is also doing it, the driver is also doing it. And I tell them that if somebody asks you, "What do you do in the school?" Don't say, "I drive a car or drive a bus." You say that I am preparing my children for life. And all of them have learned to say this, right? So I think, and then if this kind of dignity comes to this, children will learn it and children will love it. On 1st May, our children never forget these people. Even in this virtual world, they made videos, they talked to them virtually, and they gave all the respect. So I think this is something that we can bring in. Sanjay ji, I think Mukta ji, before she says, please stop, I will stop now.
No, thank you so much, sir. The examples I'm reminding from my school life, but time is not permitting me. Thank you so much, Sanjay ji, Seema Jain ma'am, Seema Bajaj ma'am, Mrs. Bhasin, and Muskan for being here in this inaugural episode of the talk show Education 4.0 Safe Sustainable Society. Before I wrap up, I'll request Dr. Hasija and Dr. Chaudhary to please say a sentence for your blessings.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Over
Dr.
to
Hasija first.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Hasija first.
Is he there?
Well,
Okay, sir, over to you.
आगे Dr. Hasija आगे. Yeah, Dr. Hasija. Yeah.
Signal. I'm there.
I'm sure you are not sleeping, sir.
Not at all. I'm there. I'm listening to the last anecdote also of Ashok Pandey. I've heard fully.
One sentence of your blessings for making this show move, taking it forward, and your blessings.
I would only say that number one, any collaboration of thoughts in the process of improving transaction of curriculum or education per se is always a new beginning. You have made a new beginning today with people like Professor Harish Chaudhary, Dr. Ashok Pandey, and the all vistas which you have sent to us. I'm sure their presence, their inspirational thoughts, and their approach would change the mindset of commoner like me to have a better view of education, and probably at the grassroots level where we are practicing as a teaching and learning process, probably would be able to bring some change. Do not end this with just talk show. Do have a repetition so that you can have a follow-up of what we have done in the classroom. Thank you very much allowing me to be part of this talk show.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Chaudhary, a sentence of blessings, please.
no, I don't think blessing is the right word. It's just my best wishes. I really enjoyed this session. One request, maybe we don't call it a show. Let's call it a dialogue or some such thing. 2, let's involve more parents, especially parents of children who are in the primary stages. I think it was fantastic. And I look forward to many more such sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And towards the end, I really sincerely thank Dr. Pandey, who has inspired me to taking this thing forward, taking this small step. And I'm sure with all my fellow friends, colleagues, teachers, and my mentors, we will take it forward. Definitely we'll make a difference. We'll try to make an iota of the change in the mindset. Thank you so much. So we conclude here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you joining.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary,
Thank you.
Dr. Hasija, Sanjay
Thank
ji,
you, everyone.
all
Namaskar,
the
sir.
parents, and
Thank you
Muskan,
very much.
all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Samurja team, congratulations.
I think show would not have been possible without Monica Kanduja and Kriti Kapoor. So you have the bigger role next time. You have really made really good arrangements and everything you have put in place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.